I'm Kerry Grinkmeyer with Best of Us in Retirement, and I'm a retired financial advisor. I have a CFP, a CHFC, and a CLU, and I like to share my knowledge with folks about retiring. And I got an interesting letter from Allison. Allison lives in Maine, and she basically is wanting to retire. She's a single mother. She has two boys that are in their 30s, and they live abroad. And she wants to retire at 71, and she has some basic assets. And she asked me if I could help her. In fact, she says, help me. To give you kind of just a quick overview, she's got about $270,000 in an IRA. She has an individual brokerage account, which she has accumulated somewhere in the neighborhood of, 180 some thousand. She's closing on a property, or she's inheriting a part of a property. Her mother passed away, and she's going to acquire somewhere in the neighborhood of $199,000 on that. And she wants to do a like-kind property exchange and turn it into rental property. Apparently, it was rental property, but she wants to move, and she knows she has about 18 months to do that. Her house is paid off in November, and she has no real debt, and she thinks she can live once she scales back and stops working for something in the neighborhood of $50,000 a year. She's a real estate agent, and she does quite well at it, but she's closing 25 to 30 properties a year, and she says, I'm just working too much, and I want to cut back. I want to cut back for the next 2 or 3 years and only do maybe 5 properties and just kind of settle back and come to a much lesser life. And she says, I don't know if I can retire. There's so many questions I have about IRAs and Roth conversions and solo 401ks and LLCs and rental property and all this. There's just so many questions I have, and I don't know, I don't have a clue. So she said, can you help me? Well, I'm happy to help her. I'm not her financial advisor. I'm here only for education purposes. And Allison, I hope you see this so that you can get my take on it. And what I thought I'd do, you may have seen, I use an Excel spreadsheet that I created, and I can plug the numbers in and say, okay, this is where we are, and this is where we got, and if this happens like this, this is, and none of it's chiseled in stone, but it gives you an idea. And I think in retirement and in retirement planning, it's real important to have a plan. And then to plug the numbers into that plan. And ideally, if you can recreate the plan that I'm going to show you, you can change the numbers if something changes. If the numbers I put in are off somewhere, and then you can come back to it on a year-to-year basis and say, okay, this is what did happen, and this is how it projects to go from there. So let's once again go to my Excel spreadsheet, and I'll share it with you. And I'll give you the link where you can go and give me your name and your email address, and I'll send you a copy of it, okay? So let's do that first, all right? Okay, this is the spreadsheet I put together for Allison. I spoke to her on the phone to clarify some of these numbers, so I think they're pretty accurate. As I said, she's 71 years of age. She's got Social Security of about $1,700. She started drawing that, which works out to be $20,400. I give an inflation rate on that of 2%. In her IRAs and qualified accounts, she has $270,000. She has another 180 in various brokerage accounts, that 189,000. I gave her a risk tolerance of 5%. So it's not aggressive. She's not investing aggressively, but she said she has done quite well. I took the money that she was getting from her mother's rental property that she was going to do a 1031 like-kind exchange on, and estimated that she could get some rental property, and she could make about 6% on that. So that's what that number represents. And then she gave me an expense that she could live on 50,000. I clarified that with her, and she confirmed that was good. I inflated that at 2%. I put her in a 12% single individual's tax bracket, and I looked up Maine's state bracket at 7%. And so those numbers then fell into these boxes. The only number I really didn't, I just had trouble believing she could run a business and live on 50,000. She assured me she could do it on 36, but I threw $70,000 in cost of living, and then I reduced it to 50 when she's going to scale back. And because she also said that when she stopped working so hard, she wanted to visit her two sons, and they both lived internationally. So she's going to have to spend some money there. So what I did then was basically project her Social Security. I started calculating her RMD, her required minimum distribution, which is basically this number here, these qualified funds, divided by the required, and this is the factor for the required distribution. So she said, I don't know how to do that. And I said, well, you have your money at, I believe she said TD Ameritrade. I said, call them up and tell them to do it for you, and move that money when it comes out into your non-qualified account. And that's basically what I did. And I've also then, any excess money that I see that she's making, I'm adding it to her non-qualified account. So then what I did, she has said she's doing 25 to 30 real estate transactions this year, and she was making about 170,000 off of that. I basically said, okay, she said she wanted to reduce that to about 5. And I asked her, I said, now if you move, could you set up you've got a good client base, and could you set up a referral program to basically say, here, I'll put these people who are calling me and wanting to buy a house, and I'll give them to you, and I want 25% of the commission. And she was familiar with that, and she said, yeah, I could do that. And I said, well, you're probably going to run out of it somewhere in about 2025. Either the agents aren't going to want to do it, or you aren't going to want to mess with it. I continued her income at 1/5 of what she was making this final year in 2021. So then I just basically projected. I calculated her net worth. She told me that her assets plus her condo was worth about $300,000. So that made her net worth at $759,000 currently. And then I just projected these numbers out, and I told her she would become worth somewhere around $2 million in, let's see, what's that? That works out to be at about 2037. She said, are you kidding? I said, no, I think that's right. But again, these numbers aren't locked in stone. I do think they're conservative. As I said, I'm figuring a 5% growth rate on both her non-qualified and her qualified assets, and I think that's attainable. I told her to keep watching my videos, and of course, I believe she can do better than 5%, and so that's how I figured it out. Let's talk a little bit more in depth about this and how you can adapt these things to you and help you project what your future is going to look like. Okay, that was fun. Now I got to read the small print of Allison's letter. And she asked a couple of other questions that I thought maybe might be pertinent to your situation. And again, I'm asking that, hoping that Allison will watch this video. She says it's been suggested she gets a solo 401k. Well, that's important, Allison, if you're going to continue to be working. But if you're not going to continue to be working and not generating a lot of income, that's a burden you really don't need. Not at this point. Someone has suggested that I have a self-directed IRA. Well, you have your 401k, and I believe that's at TD Ameritrade. If it's still in the 401k, I'd suggest you get it out. I suggest you convert that to a managed IRA, because you'll have so many more investment opportunities within a self-directed IRA than you would if you still have your structured company 401k. The other issue with your 401k, if it's structured as I think it is, you're paying some exorbitant fees in there. You're paying mutual fund fees, you're paying administration fees, and you don't want that. So take that out of that 401k and put it into an IRA, and that will be your self-directed IRA. Then you have your regular non-qualified accounts. I would suggest any additional monies that you make that are above and beyond your needs, you put those, part of them into or most of it into your non-qualified plan, and buy stocks that you believe are going to grow substantially and that you want to hold forever. And these are, in my mind, these are the Apples, the Googles, the Microsoft, the Facebooks of the world. You're going to put those in there, and you're really buying them for your boys, and they're just going to grow. And then, thus, they will grow, and you will have if you don't sell them, you don't have any capital gains. So again, you then won't pay taxes on them. If you put them into your IRA and they grow, you're going to every year have to take part of it back out, and you're going to pay taxes on it. Okay? So at this point, I would stop funding my 401k and start funding my non-qualified account with counts that I want to leave to my boys. And why I say that is if it's in a non-qualified account and they inherit it, they get a step up in basis. That is to say, if you buy Amazon at $3,300 a share today and you live for another 15 years and it's up to $6,000, they will pay no capital gains on that growth from $3,300 to $6,000. That will get a step up in basis. So that's the best way you want to pass that asset on to them. And as we showed in the chart, you're going to be having more income coming in than you need, and that's why I want you to put it in that non-qualified account. What about a mega backdoor Roth? What that is, that's really for younger people. That Roth is if you put money into a Roth IRA, you pay taxes as if it's income today. Now, again, I'm going to roll back on that a little bit. If you have, again, money that you're going to receive that is above and beyond your needs, you could put that in a Roth, but without a 401k attached to it, you're only going to be able to put $6,000 into that Roth IRA. Now, the beauty of that Roth IRA is it's going to grow as long as you live, and then when your boys access it, they'll pay no taxes on your your normal IRA. When you pass away, they will have to continue to take distributions just as if you were still alive. So that will create a taxable event on them. In a Roth, it would not. So that is an option for you. Excuse me. And then you ask me about a medical deferred plan. I'm of the belief that medical plan has to be attached to a active 401k, and your employer has to manage it and administrate it for you. So I don't think that's available to you. I could be wrong on that, and I would check with my accountant on that. So the other issue she brought up is that she has $20,000 in her E-Trade account, but she has a aging car, and she is thinking about possibly taking that $20,000 out of the E-Trade account, trading in her car, and buying another car. Allison, if you're going to stay in the real estate business, I would probably lease that car Again, this is going to be contingent about you staying in the real estate business, and then you write that entire payment off as a business expense, as a part of your real estate business. And as long as you keep that income coming in from real estate and that income coming in from possibly a referral program, you would be able to write that entire lease off, because you could probably justify, well, that's for my real estate business and that's what I use it for. So again, check with your CPA on that one. But I would rather honestly see you not take that $20,000 out of your E-Trade account and take on a lease on your next car and gain the ability to write off the lease payment as a business expense. So, Allison, I want to thank you for sending me that. I enjoyed going through it. I hope that everybody else out there learned from it, picked something up. If you got some further questions, put them into the comments, communicate with me, and let's do this as a team sport, okay? Let's do this retirement working together to each of us help make better decisions. And if I brought something up in here that you don't quite understand, mention it in the comments and I'll try to address it. Okay, thank you. Remember, this is the best half of your life.